Good afternoon, peeps. This is one of my office locations for the day. Any guesses where that is? I'm looking across the water at part of my gold mine area. That is Wales in the distance. And I'm sat here on the other side of the Severn Estuary, just chilling. I've been working in a mobile office all day, here, there, and everywhere. It was an outside day. I had things to attend to, which involved me being out and about. So, what is today's lesson, should we say? Today's lesson is speak to your power team. Speak to your people in your corner. I was having a chat with a broker yesterday, one of my brokers. We were looking at funding the Pontypool deal. He was just looking for an update, and I mentioned to him that we'd engaged a building consultant who made substantial suggestions on how to change the project. More on that in another video. And we're looking at saving somewhere around £30,000 to £40,000 in literally just fabrication costs, construction costs. His suggestion was also, why don't you flip it? Come up with even more profit. Now, that involves us running some more numbers, because all the numbers we've run so far have been based around buy, refurbish, refinance, put into our SA portfolio, go from there. It's not impossible to do those calculations. It just is a different set of numbers to look at. It also means we need to reconfigure what we put into these places. Now, when we do a refurb, we future-proof as much as possible. We look at a minimum sort of 10-year future-proofing, as in we don't want to touch that property again structurally for 10 years at least. Yeah, you're going to need to do little touch-ups, etc., between tenancies if need be, but nothing structural, nothing major. To that end, we were looking at putting in underfloor infrared heating, infrared panels on the walls if need be, PCM boilers, not gas-fired boilers. PCM boilers is a subject for another video, another time. Fabulous technology with a COP of between 3 and 5, depending on the system you use. Mark my words, it will be the next thing in terms of hot water technology. It's kind of very, very underrated. We'll talk about that in another video. So, back to the moral of the story. The moral of the story is talk to your team, talk to your power team, discuss with them what you're planning on doing, because oftentimes they will have a suggestion, and this broker's particular suggestion was flip it. We hadn't planned on doing flips as part of the thing, although we have a 10% offload in the business plan anyway, as part of kind of a cycling if we need to. And in the last 2, maybe 3 months, I had considered adding a few flips in our gold mine area, purely because the potential was huge. We'll make 30-40 grand per flip, because the market's just crazy right now. Doing a flip, however, requires that we use a different set of material costs. We're not going to obviously go high end like we normally do for the rest of the stuff which we keep as SAs or rental properties. The flip is literally basic, dead basic, and sell it. The owner's going to put their own stamp on it. Why would you put in Faro and Ball, high-end paints or on the walls? They're not going to know the difference between a bright, brilliant white and a Faro and Ball green, white, or whatever. So don't waste money on it. So we need to rerun some numbers just to check and see whether or not the flip option is worthwhile. One thing we need to consider is whether or not we get grant funding for the refurb and Pontypool. If we do, there is a stipulation that we can't sell it for 5 years. I'd imagine there is a penalty for doing that. And that penalty, if I remember correctly, is you simply need to repay the grant. Not a massive issue. But then you're selling the property, making profit, you need to take the grant money out of that. So it needs to be factored in when you do those numbers. I don't think there's any additional penalty. And I'm sure the council would love to have that money back for other projects. So I have asked the question. I'm just waiting for an answer back as to if there are any further penalties if we do sell and pay whatever back we need to. So where are we at now? The building consultant helped us view the possibility that we do things slightly differently. He came along and had a look at the place, and he goes, well, fantastic. I gave him a copy of the plans, etc. And his suggestion was, you don't necessarily need a full floor up in the mezzanine area. Just got half width mezzanine. You can still get 2 bedrooms because it's big enough to do that. And that was based on the added cost associated with having to put in steels across both sides. We're looking at potentially, 8 sets of steels, well, 8 steels, not 8 sets of steels, and brace spars and stuff like that. So 30 to 40 grand's worth of steelworks alone. If we can save half that on each of the flats, that's a 40 grand saving. We still need to put in steels for a smaller area. So that brings into play all kinds of other things. Building regs, will we get sign off for it? Fire suppression, how does that change the landscape? It's all well and good having these ideas and people coming and making suggestions, but a responsible builder, as I'd like to think we are, will make sure that you cover off all the other aspects that are affected by this. Building regs, most definitely, you need their sign off. And the current building doesn't have building reg sign off. And fire suppression, which are the part of the new rules. How does that play out with a mezzanine as opposed to a fully encased floor? Do we need to have additional suppression? The questions have been asked. Answers are waiting. So that is Pontypool. We still haven't had full and final planning granted, although they were very amenable to our plans. I have raised the question with the architect to say, well, what if we change those plans? Because I know the council were balking at the size of the dormers. Well, this new plan doesn't require any dormers. I'm sure they'll be very, very happy with that. So Pontypool is a morphing situation. Will we keep it? Will we sell it? Who knows? Watch the space. From my mobile office for the day, I'm going to say sayonara. Have a great day, peeps. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I will catch you again next week. Take care. Cheers. Bye.